All right, guys. So this is a fan fiction idea I've wanted to do of a while, and while it does kind of take its own story, its own way, the core of it is centered around like a loose adaptation, a cartoon adaptation of Dark Knights of Steel. So let's get into it. There are going to be elements of a Warhammer fantasy in here, but what would you expect of me? Anyway, so this story basically begins. This story basically begins in the Kingdom of Amity. And here, Jack and Maddie Fenton are king and queen of this land, and they wanted a child. They desperately wanted to have their own child. When they had their first son, Danny, he died. He was a stillborn. However, that's when the ghost Clockwork arrived, and he basically breathed unlife into him, so to speak. He basically said, like, hey, that kid's very important for the future, so I'm going to need him alive, so here's what I'm going to do. And gives him a bit of his power. The boy then is born with snow white hair and bright green eyes. So he becomes known as Danny the Phantom Prince. So it's now a few years later, and not only has Danny become like the great ghost prince, he also now has Danielle, who is his sister. Now, they also still have Jazz. And she's set to be the next person on the throne. So Danny is basically like a protector of the realms alongside his younger sister, Danielle, who in this continuity is born of Jack and Maddie. So the two of them were both born with this ghostly power, and they now work as like protectors of the Kingdom of Amity, because there are like, monsters out in the woods. There's also like other tribes, and they have kind of a tense relationship with some of the other major kingdoms. Some of which being the Kingdom of Muni, who here are kind of treated like fae. They're kind of treated like fairies, or they're almost like the elves. That's the better word. They're like the elves of this world, where the Mumins don't really like the humans, but they don't there isn't like a open war. It's just kind of like tense relations, but we're cool with each other. Then there's also Newtopia, who is run by King Andreas, who does have a massive military behind him, and his people are pretty technologically advanced of the time. They're like amphibian. They're like if Lustria was the Empire of Man. That's the best way to describe it. Imagine if the lizard men had the technology of the Empire of Man. And they're also we're cool, but you stay on your side of the fence. And there's also the Crystal Kingdom, who, after a long civil war, the kingdom's repairing itself. The youngest queen had a civil war with her sisters over the throne. She died, and the other sisters were they stepped down. Like, they basically could not run the kingdom anymore, and they were just like, well, we fucked up. We realized what we did was wrong, so they handed over rulership to the rightful ruler, Prince Stephen, who, alongside his Crystal Knights, as they're called, they're basically rebuilding the kingdom. So there's all that going on. These are the four major kingdoms of this land, and they all have their own little. They all have things going for them here and there, but for the most part, they're all cool. There are other elite forces out there, however, some of which are the North folk. The North folk are basically if Norska and Norska from Warhammer and the Wildlings from Game of Thrones were put together. Essentially, this is a race of barbarians who want to keep the North free from the governance of man. And the families were killed in a mysterious accident, and that accident being, they believe it was the Kingdom of Amity. Specifically, it was Danny who murdered their parents. Those two, the heirs of the throne, have now taken power. Those being the twins. This is Dipper and Mabel. They are the ruling, the rulers of the North folk, and they're already gearing for war after the assassination of it. Now, the North folk have always been kind of a nuisance for all the kingdoms, but the problem is of why they could no one could really stop the North folk was because They basically had a huge amount of land to them, and despite all that, not only are they free humans, people who left the respective kingdoms, and also they're pretty well organized. Every time they try, every time an army tries to tame the North folk, it becomes a Teutoburg Forest situation. And if you know your history, that's not a good thing. Not only that, but they also have allegiances with the creatures of the forest. Yeah, so they have manitors, gnomes, fairies, all of that in their disposal. It's not just a kingdom of humans; it's a united front. And now they just got their king and queen have been murdered, and now the people of the North are gearing up for war. However, things aren't going so well either, because it's also been believed that the Crystal Kingdom has also come under attack by who they believe are the Mumins. The Mumins also believe that the Utopians have been the assassins of the king of Muni. So everyone's just kind of like twisting and getting ready for war. Among these people who are like trying to figure out the root of all this cause, Danny is among them, but also his family's protector, their knight. And their knight is Anne. She basically has been in service to the Fentons ever since they took her in to be like a knight of the realm. She's also been considered the bodyguard of the Fenton family, and now is tasked with with trying to help Danny figure out what the hell is going on. On top of that, you also have other warriors who are like servants of the other kingdoms. You have like Marcy, who is the King Andreas's personal scribe and advisor. You have all of these other people behind them as well. Like you have Marco, who is the bodyguard of Star, who they are a thing. You also have Connie, who is a servant of Stephen, who he's having relations with. And yeah, so everyone's getting ready for just all-out war, and they're all trying to figure out what the hell's going on in it and what's starting this. So they're all trying to like piece this together. On top of that, you also have the Fenton's personal they have a sorceress on their side, Ida. And Ida basically has come with a prophecy saying that, hey, war is coming, and it's going to be started by people who look like us but are not like us. They're demons. They fly, and they're capable of great evil. And yeah, the prophecy is also like being taken seriously by all accounts. So everyone's just kind of at DEFCON 3. And in the midst of all this, the North folk are marching south to start laying waste to whatever kingdom comes their way. So a small coalition basically gets together. Stephen, Danny, Marcy, who goes in the place of King Andreas because he has no heirs, and Star. They all get together, and they secretly, while all the other kingdoms are getting ready for war, they basically just prepare, like they're just trying to figure out who's behind this, because it's starting to sound like there's some other kind of unknown hand behind, kind of in the background, in the shadows, manipulating the entire situation to their benefit. So while that's going on, Utopia gets attacked by the North folk. And Andres doesn't take them seriously at first. He takes them about as seriously as Ayla took the Great Heathen Army seriously, and that's what they call it, the Great Northern Army. And the twins show up riding a fucking the 8-headed bear. Like Dipper's just riding the Octo Bear, and that's when Andres is like, "Oh, that's a problem." Yeah. So technology meets the ferocity of barbarians, and if you're wondering who's the chief manufacturer to Andreas, it is the House of the Blight House, or the House of Blight, who Amity herself is in the middle of having a relationship with a young wizard who has been in service to the family. So the siege of Newtopia happens, and it's just all out. It is just all out insanity. And in the middle of this, Danny and his little coalition try to stop the fights. And in the middle of it, that's when Danny gets attacked by himself. He meets like a version of himself. He's like, what the fuck? And the thing shapeshifts. And it's a fucking dire wraith. The dire wraiths are on Earth. They basically came from the stars, and that's when when one of this other knight who joined them, Randy, is like, I knew it was them. I should have known. And they're like, what the hell do you mean? And he's like, I'm the like Randy basically like when he met them, Randy basically explained, I was the survivor of a war, but it wasn't on this Earth. And it's revealed that Randy's real name is Rom. Yeah, he's Rom the Space Knight. Rom basically explains that my people, the Space Knights, were at war with the dire wraiths. We lost. I came here. I didn't realize the dire wraiths had been on Earth all this time. So now it's just to keep all the kingdoms united, they have to like figure out what the plot of the dire wraiths are, which was this. It was just basically to cause political drama and cause the kingdoms just war with each other, and the dire wraiths would just kind of sneak in and take what was left. But the thing is, they weren't working alone. It turns out there's someone else who was behind that this whole thing, and that person was Vlad Plasmius, former advisor of the king and queen of Amity. And it also turns out that Vlad is Danny and Danielle's biological father. Because in here, that whole thing with clockwork, that was bullshit. That was just the story everyone said. Turns out he was just having an affair and had it twice with Maddie. To basically, like, they've been having it for years. And then, Vlad got banished because he became power hungry, and Maddie realized, oh, you don't love me, you love the throne. So, became that. So Danny's still grappling with that he and his younger sister are bastards, and Vlad encountered the ship that the dire wraiths came on. He found it, he woke them up, and basically allied with the dire wraiths in order to conquer the world. So it's just it's not a great day to be a phantom. So Danny and Vlad fight. The two of them go at each other. And for where Vlad in this continuity got his powers, he got his powers from channeling like the dark arts. So there you go. So the two fight until Danny actually slays Vlad, and the dire wraiths are located and destroyed, leading to Danny and the other young royalty members to form like a coalition, like basically one big united kingdom, a league, if you will, from here on out. Anyway, so there you go. As for like other little things here and there, like that's the whole story, but I do have some other little things here and there for like world building sake. The toads in here are like the orcs. Like the toads are the orcs, and their leader is Sasha, who was a former knight of the Kingdom of Amity, but she left because she was a little too brutal for her own good, and they kicked her out, and she became the the prophet of the toads, so to speak. She became not so much Gazgathol, but more like she became a human version of Grimgor Ironhide, and now they just raid the eastern continent and occasionally throw down with the North folk. You also have Lilith, who is a scribe for. She's a scribe and teacher for Stephen. She's an advisor to him. You have there are a lot of characters, and not all of them we're going to fit into one video. I might do a second part to like world build this. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.